Imagine this, the stadium is shaking, 40,000 voices roar in unison, and then, boom, a single play turns the entire match on its head. But what if I told you the real story of Broncos versus Storm wasn't just about big tackles or flashy tries, but about pride, revenge, and survival? And trust me, you're about to hear moments that will make you sit forward, question what you thought you knew, and wonder, how on earth did that just happen? Before we dive in, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss the drama, the chaos, and the passion of the NRL. Because here on AUSSIE NRL Updates, we don't just tell the story, we live it. The Broncos versus Storm rivalry has always been fire and fury. Brisbane, the pride of Queensland. Melbourne, the ruthless machine, clinical and unforgiving. These two sides don't just meet, they collide. And every single time, sparks fly. But this time? This wasn't just a game. This was a battle for dominance, a fight to prove who really belongs at the top. Let's rewind the clock. The Broncos entered this showdown with momentum. Reece Walsh, electric. Ezra Mam, fearless. Payne Haas, unmovable. Brisbane looked like a side that could tear anyone apart. And yet, across the field, the Storm stood. Cameron Munster with that cheeky smirk. Harry Grant, silent but deadly around the ruck. And Ryan Papenhuisen, the comeback king, desperate to silence the doubters after his long injury layoff. From the first whistle, it was clear this wasn't going to be a friendly contest. It was war. Barely minutes in, the Broncos pressed hard. Walsh broke the line with his lightning pace, the crowd already out of their seats. But just as he shaped to deliver that killer pass, bang! A Storm defender flew in, the ball spilled, and the danger was gone. The Broncos faithful gasped, but Melbourne fans? They cheered like they'd scored a try. That wasn't just a tackle. That was a message. Not tonight, Brisbane. But Brisbane wouldn't wait long. Ezra Mam, weaving like a magician, stepped inside, outside, then flicked it out wide. Selwyn Cobbo dived, corner try. The crowd erupted, fireworks exploding across Suncorp. For a moment, it felt like the Broncos had cracked the Storm's code. The home fans sang loud, thinking the avalanche was about to begin. But then came the twist. Because you know what they say about Melbourne. You don't hurt them, you wake them. And in the very next set, Harry Grant took control. From dummy half, quick step, short ball, boom. Nelson Asofa-Solomona barged through like a wrecking ball. Try time, Storm. Suddenly, silence. The Broncos crowd sat stunned. What looked like dominance was now a deadlock. The game swung like a pendulum. Walsh tried his magic again, breaking the line, but just when it seemed certain he'd score, out of nowhere, Papenhuisen with a desperate cover tackle. The stadium gasped. Walsh slapped the turf in frustration. Commentators screamed, that could be a game-saver. And deep down, Broncos fans knew. Walsh's masterclass didn't just earn Brisbane a derby win. It flipped the NRL finals race on its head. One victory in August or September can feel like four when it comes against a direct rival, especially when it lifts you into the top four. Why is the top four so important? Simple. History tells us that teams finishing outside of it almost never win the premiership. It's the golden ticket, the safety net of a second chance, home ground advantage, and psychological momentum heading into finals. The Broncos, with this win, didn't just climb, they announced themselves as genuine premiership heavyweights. And that is a nightmare for rival clubs. Let's not forget the flip side. For the Cowboys, this loss wasn't just painful, it was potentially season-defining. They had the Broncos on the ropes multiple times. They matched them in physicality. They had moments where they looked the more disciplined team. But in finals like football, moments are everything. One lapse, one misread, one superstar in the opposition jersey, and your season can unravel. North Queensland fans are now asking, where to from here? With only a handful of games left, every clash is now sudden death. Win, and you might scrape into the 8. Lose, and you're staring down a long off-season wondering what might have been. And the question lingers, did Walsh just single-handedly crush the Cowboys' dream? For Brisbane, this wasn't just another win. It was a signal that the young squad has matured. Think back only a few years ago, the Broncos were written off as a broken giant, their glory days gone, plagued by inconsistency. Fast forward to now, and you've got a spine that looks lethal, Walsh at the back, Ezra Mam in the halves, Adam Reynolds steering with experience. Add Payne Haas and Patrick Carrigan setting the platform in the middle, and suddenly the Broncos aren't just flashy, they're balanced. That's the scary part for the rest of the NRL. This isn't a one-man show. Walsh may have been the star in Townsville, but the supporting cast? They're building something very real. But here's the burning question, is this Broncos side truly premiership ready? Or will the pressure of finals expose cracks that haven't yet been tested? We've seen young teams rise before, only to stumble when it matters most. The Panthers, Storm, and Roosters won't be giving up their crowns easily. So, did this win simply light a spark, or did it ignite a premiership flame? This game also revealed glaring flaws in the Cowboys' armour. Defensive scramble, every time Walsh got into open space, the Cowboys struggled to reset. That lack of urgency cost them. Kicking game under pressure, too often, their kicks handed Walsh a platform to counter. Against weaker fullbacks, it works. Against him? It backfires. Discipline, penalties at crucial moments gave Brisbane repeat sets. Against a team with Walsh lurking, that's fatal. These are not small issues. They're season-ending ones if not fixed immediately. It might be. The Storm began controlling the ruck, slowing the Broncos forwards, dictating pace. Melbourne don't just beat you physically, they suffocate you mentally. Each set felt heavier, each tackle like a hammer. The Broncos needed something special. And then, it happened. A loose pass from Mam. The ball bobbled. Munster snatched it like a thief in the night. He sprinted, laughing as he ran, Cobbo chasing desperately. 50 metres out, Munster grubbers ahead. Papenhuisen streaks through, scoops it, and slams it down. Try. The Storm players jumped, fists pumped. Broncos' heads dropped. And here's the kicker, it wasn't just a try. It was psychological warfare. Munster didn't just score, he embarrassed Brisbane. But here's where it gets insane, because while Melbourne looked set to run away with it, the Broncos weren't done. Oh no. A single moment, controversial, shocking, unforgettable, would flip the match once again. And trust me, you won't believe how it happened. If you're loving this rollercoaster already, don't forget, this is AUSSIE NRL Updates, your home for drama-filled breakdowns and stories that other channels don't dare tell. Hit subscribe, drop a comment with your prediction, Broncos or Storm, and let's keep the rivalry alive. Stay tuned, because part 2 is where the chaos truly begins. Alright, so where were we? The Storm had just landed that gut punch of a try. Munster's grin was everywhere, Papenhuisen was flying again, and the Broncos. They looked rattled. But remember what I said, Brisbane weren't done. Not even close. Because what happened next wasn't just rugby league, it was pure theatre. Midway through the second half, with the Storm up by 8, the Broncos needed a spark. Haas charged forward, meters gained, the crowd finally rising. Walsh swung into position, Mam waiting inside. Then, chaos. Walsh threw a looping ball wide. Cobbo leapt for it. Papenhuisen rushed in. They collided mid-air, bang. Both players crashed to the turf. The referee's whistle blew. But here's the twist, instead of a penalty to Brisbane, the ref pointed the other way. Against Cobbo. Obstruction. Storm ball. The stadium erupted in boos. Fans hurled words you wouldn't want your kids hearing. Even the commentators were stunned, that's a massive call. The Broncos had momentum. This changes everything. And right there, the fire ignited. The Broncos players were furious, waving their arms, shouting at the officials. Reece Walsh? Red in the face. Ezra Mam? Shaking his head. But frustration can do two things: it can break you or fuel you. For Brisbane, it lit a fuse. From the next set, the Storm looked comfortable, almost smug. But complacency against the Broncos? Deadly mistake. Mam picked up a loose kick near halfway. He darted, stepping Munster inside out. Offloaded to Walsh, who turned on the afterburners. He sprinted, Papenhuisen gave chase again, but this time Walsh wasn't letting it slip. He dived under the posts, TRY Broncos. The roar was deafening. Suncorp shook like an earthquake. And just like that, the game was back on a knife's edge. But before Brisbane could even catch their breath, the Storm fired back. Harry Grant from dummy half, short side raid, Nick Meaney sliced through untouched. Try Storm. It was like being punched in the gut right after you'd taken your first deep breath. Storm players celebrated hard, too hard. And that was their undoing. From the restart, tensions boiled over. Haas stormed in on Munster with a bone-rattling hit. Munster popped straight up, laughing in his face. Words exchanged. Pushes. Then, bang! Players rushed in. A full melee broke out. Jerseys grabbed, fists thrown, the crowd losing its mind. The referee had no choice. He blew his whistle like a madman, arms waving, and then out came the cards. One for the Storm. One for the Broncos. Both teams reduced. It wasn't just a match anymore. It was survival. The scoreboard read Storm ahead by 4. 10 minutes left. Everything to play for. Brisbane launched wave after wave. Haas, Carrigan, Flegler, they hammered Melbourne's line. Each time, the Storm bent, but didn't break. Then, 5 minutes on the clock. Walsh called for it. A sweeping play left. Mam, to Staggs, to Cobbo, who flicked it back inside. Walsh caught it, dummied, dived, TRY. Or was it? The crowd erupted, but the referee's whistle stayed silent. He raised